a very important subject matter. Without much ado, I welcome Dr. Richard Ahiaba to mount the podium. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And again, I join in the apology for your long delay. Thank you for coming. We have called you this afternoon to talk about the negligence of the NDC and President John Dramani Mahama, His Excellency, that has led to the loss of lives of some 11 or more people at the Anglo Gold Ashanti mines in Obuasi and Newmont in a related violence. This, in our view, is a very important matter that some of you in the media have talked about, but we think that it requires the attention of all of us as a people to nip this in the bud. Those souls that died or perished on that day needn't be dead as we speak. They had a chance to be alive, except that the NDC and the leadership of their party, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, were negligent. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, please, if you will indulge me, since we are live, let's just take about 10 seconds to observe silence in the memory of these people who have lost their lives under these very strange and difficult circumstances. Just 10 seconds. May their souls rest in peace. Again, before I go on, let me stop here and extend the sincere condolences of our party, all of our membership, our leadership, to the families and friends of these Ghanaians who happen to be members of the National Democratic Congress who perished on Sunday, the 19th of January. Ladies and gentlemen, the NDC resorted to violence immediately following the peaceful elections on December 7th, which election they won, the presidential and the legislative election they won. And the New Patriotic Party, led by our flag bearer, His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, considered defeat appropriately and congratulated then President-elect John Dramani Mahama, now President of the Republic, and the Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo Bawumia administration cooperated with them duly to supervise a very historic transition on the 7th of January 2025. Notwithstanding the NPP's goodwill and support for the NDC leadership and the president-elect at the time, they looked on while their members took the laws into their hands to attack, terrorize, and violate Ghanaians. The NDC and its grassroots had ignored all calls to stop the violence. Instead, violence. The NDC party was acting. They abused and attacked electoral commission officers and personnel. They attacked and abused police officers and police installations. They attacked government institutions. And recently, as we are talking about today, in Obuasi, when the incorrigible thugs of the NDC thought that they could invade a private company, which sadly resulted in this bloodshed that we're talking about. All of these violent incursions by the NDC thugs and grassroots members received the tacit support of the NDC leadership and President John Dramani Mahama. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, you remember many of these attacks. Many of these attacks. The plot was to show you some of these videos, but I'm very much aware that you have them. You have copies. We watch them on your screens. Some of them you reported online. We watched them. So you are aware of these videos that I'm talking about. But as time goes on, if you can show them to you, we'll key them up for you to see. But many of these violent instances you are aware of. I'll just take a minute to outline a few If we get a video, you watch them. But it started with attacks on the EC offices, destruction of pink sheets and related electoral materials and evidence in constituencies the NDC knows they've lost. And police installations also came under attack, and you recall the infamous attack at the Tema Central police station, with the pressure on police to declare the NDC winners of that seat. At the end of the day, you have seen where the result has gone, but the NDC at the time, with their leadership, tacitly encouraging its people to go and rampage these state institutions and security installations. And the strange thing was that the police could not do anything under the pressure and the inducement of the NDC leadership for their thugs to attack these security posts. The NDC thugs attacked the following institutions after President Mahama took office. Now, outside of the ones that he did following the elections, especially in the parliamentary elections, in about some 12 or so constituencies which they know they lost, but then wanted to insist the result to be declared for them. After His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, the President of the Republic of Ghana, took office, they carried on, and his administration watched and did nothing. I want to tell you about the attack in the New Jobbing Municipal Assembly. This happened in broad daylight. The government, then His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, did nothing. The thugs from the NDC, again, they stormed Tor, the Tema Oil Refinery. They sacked all the employees and lock up the premises. This happened in broad daylight, and the NDC and President John Dramani Mahama did nothing. The NDC thugs again attacked Cocoa Board offices. This happened in broad daylight, and the NDC and His Excellency John Dramani Mahama did nothing. The NDC thugs again attacked the Ministry of Energy, threatening the workers there, threatening the lady who was manning the reception that if she would not cooperate with them, they would sack her from the place. The President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, did nothing. His party did nothing. The NDC thugs again burned down police installations in Edra and Atebubu. The NDC, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, was aware, they knew about it, they did nothing. Again, the NDC thugs attacked the Eastern Regional Offices of the National Health Insurance Authority, the National Service Secretariat, the School Feeding Secretariat, the TVET, and the National Lottery Authorities. These were happening in broad daylight, yet the NDC and President John Dramani Mahama did nothing. Now, I wanted you to follow these instances and see where it culminates to a point where the people think, the NDC thugs think that they could not be stopped, they could not be touched, and that they are invincible, that they can do whatever they want. And their government, led by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, and their party, led by Chairman Asedu Nketia, and the General Secretary, Mr. Fiavi Fifi Koite, would do nothing. And it carried on. There have been many instances of violent conduct by the NDC members with full knowledge, as I indicated earlier, of their party leadership and the president-elect at the time and now President of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. They knew what their party members were doing, but they edged them on with their silence. They edged them on. And as we all know, they say silence is consent. And in this particular instance, they needn't say anything. They were just watching, and their members knew what message they were sending. Carry on, and indeed, they carried on with the violence. I am aware of, and probably you too are aware of, some letters they issued belatedly. But between you and I, we know those letters were just for the optics. They didn't issue them in good faith for their members to stop the violence. It was just for you and I to think that they were doing something. It was skirmishes, it was not honest, it was not intended to stop them. Ladies and gentlemen, the NDC must take responsibility for this gruesome murder of the 11 or so people that happened in Obuasi. And incidentally, the people that were killed very painfully, happen to be members of the National Democratic Congress. The NDC in this instance failed to protect and save the lives of these Ghanaians who are members of their party on the occasion when they died. They failed to protect and save them because they failed to lead, they failed to show leadership, they failed to tell them the truth, they failed to caution them that in this country there are laws. You can't just up and go anywhere just because your party has won an election and therefore terrorize and take over private setups as though they were yours. In fact, ladies and gentlemen, the implication of this conduct by the NDC people, because we are all mourning, which is why I'm wearing black today, we will not go into it, but they have that particular conduct, the one that happened at the AGA premises, has real implication for foreign direct investment in our country. And that is something the NDC ought to know. But they preferred to allow their politics to go ahead of the national interest. And so they failed to caution and advise their members as the lawlessness possessed their political party. It spilled over, and in Obuasi on the 19th, we saw the rather regrettable, the rather avoidable, and the painful exit of those members of their party. So in essence, it is the failure of the NDC leadership, including His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, in their legitimate duty of cautioning and advising their people to desist from the lawlessness that has led to the painful loss of lives of these young people. The silence of President John Dramani Mahama and the NDC indeed urged their thugs on in the rampage that we see, which unfortunately culminated in the loss of lives that we're talking about. They felt invincible, as I said earlier, untouchable and unstoppable. The bloodshed in Obuasi could have been avoided had the NDC cautioned their members against the violent rampage after the December 7th election, which they won. The grassroots, ladies and gentlemen, of every political party, and I want to make this point very clear, the grassroots of every political party, for that matter, any member of a political party will take directives from the leadership of the party, no matter what the situation. So if it were the case that the NDC called on their members to desist from the violence, honestly, they would have done it. But because they failed to do that, their members took the cue that the silence of their leaders meant that they carry on. They carry on, and which is the reason why we are where we are, and sadly, having to talk about the loss of lives in this case. The NDC is running around talking about some loss of lives, which is painful in elections. We want to let them know that the loss of lives, whether they are their members or not, they are Ghanaians, and this is regrettable, and this ought to be avoided. And His Excellency John Dramani Mahama will have to take responsibility for this squarely and fairly. It is because it is their inactions that led to their death on the 19th of January. We would like, ladies and gentlemen, to call on the Ghana Police to conduct its investigations and ensure justice is served expeditiously. We also want to warn the police not to engage in any backroom deals with the John Mahama administration to shield anyone in this matter. We need to emphasize that point because from every evidence we have discussed with you here, the responsibility for this unfortunate passing or slaughter of our fellow Ghanaians who are members of the NDC in Obuasi on the 19th of January 2025 is as a result of the negligence of the NDC and the President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. And so, they shouldn't engage in any backroom deals to kind of discolor the investigation, make it appear as though that it was an unfortunate thing, something that has happened. We don't want the police to engage in any backroom dealings with the government to cover up for anyone so that we don't see justice in this matter. It shouldn't be the case that they are their members, so they will cover this up. We are interested in this matter. Ladies and gentlemen, we are interested in justice for these NDC members, and we hope His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, the President of the Republic of Ghana, will not shield or attempt in any way, shape, or form to clear anyone who is culpable in the supervision of the slaughter of these Ghanaians who are members of their party. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for coming. The Aya Kanini say, December 7th, yetu aba, nyina yenim say Ghana yetu aba December 7th, no. The koba nyina ni say NPP, abano ankwa mayen, eba presidential no a NDC for ne wini ye papa John Dramani Mahama no wini abano. And parliamentary so omuwini dodo. And in terms of MPP, Kaidini, Frank Etuni, His Excellency John Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, a concede. Ya dia a bin sida. In terms of concede. In Tinaya, Sabane Sadia, and Yasumji, said the Abatu no qua sumjimu, na resort in the bands in 10 terms of MPP. Yankasa internal coalition, Yanchama, Aisi, and Fan, and we didn't Sabamba. Yankasa, a dra now, so a share numbers only who say, and Koya mine, and the Ebeka say, Papa Mahama Winnie, Enti, the Amano. Nanado Danko Kufadu are buying, the dra now so support to ye match and sishing a course so January 7, Papa John Dramani Mahama, a bidia dia or ne president of Ghana. Yet to Abani, you know. Media for one cameras and capture said the NDC for a start ya brunipa easy for near bromo your come office near Shishinyoma police stations near Shishi pink sheeta edia dance yes one of win and also NDC for a fanina no mu at the tin yoma basa your from Mosombra coalition waba Mako Jina a horse a bear dear nafe the omode omotax aba na man for crocratuo. A branch be a mokunim, and then you see a man of appointment. Why, our young man, no the two pump action, then the come lawlessness, complete recklessness. And I'm going to take Ghana, Abraham will win election. Yenina, ni manye kuna moye, a yaban yen na kotu na mo winnie assume young koso na Ghana and Kurini. But I'm the Sabasa yoyi at the chassis, go see it, Ubian Kamushe. Ye papa John Dramani Mahama no ayefun no otie no ohwe omo party mpanifo ayefun no mutie no mo hwe na ade course a enti umrante o party ni mo no abete omo ho ase so ade yi omo party na aba enti de ombaye bia ombetumi aye omaya akosi mo mpanifo anka hwe enti ababa ye suban a abeda omo so tomo sori a aban edwuma bia no makoto ahye omo so mumpie. Me sure say mo hwe de si Kumasi Sports Stadium a me refi kura man kanka ho sa de no wo hwa anyeye obako fo afatuo no nam office pie sa de ebi nsi da empo se bi esi etwemu a enye se ye be koso sa NDC form penifo anka hwe the former president John Dramani Mahama no wo hwe no wo tie sa obe take power and so say ya na NDC for edit ne akọ to ne aka kire mo say mumpie ba ko amete ye VRA omo call ye junior staff wo ho efre senior staff say mombra afi de ya ba na aba they were issuing instruction to the senior staff as though say company no abedi omonsa yanka hwe NDC for ye hwe ha ama omombrante no terrorize Ghana for terrorize government institution omo terrorize police station mo kai adwura Yashi ni drobe yankahe police anyehe. You are part down Paris so or Ghana how so ni how. NDC for e dey manage show munsem. Be member okrom how be anyhow ba ka bibi o metie. Enti sabaye suban wo party ni mu dia. Yenso so yete Obuasi yenso be ye bi. Mo kai omo women organizer meeting a oyeye. E ka kire omo say oh ya ban ba mu te say I declare ya papa Mahama na be bia mo pe bia mo take you mo fa chisel ne hammer na mo nko gold mine ho ye nia Captain Smart ono de end esa akwakoye nsem bi tim pese meka but ono so kase bi oka ye mo media fo nsem bia mo keka na kwa ese bebre na ese o ye party ye party we na emra constitution dey am say munni asem no mo na mo ye the fourth realm of the state no mo making sure say mo be hold politicians accountable no after dey bebre na o media ni mu abejoin politicians no ye kama NDC ye ka omo ya dey ye nka ye rationalize it and ekofa bae enti mranti a mo ye Ghana for do omo ye NDC for there but enam say sa suban course fi December 7th sa kosi a obi anka hwe yanche obi a yampanish obi enti no mo so say obi a omo nyina ye na yanye hwe a yenso yenko ye bi na fofi anto ata na yante asempa nipa be 9 10 11 ene ye ku omo e bi si new month enso so mrante ni bi so ko se koto hwe omo so say ya ban nti ye ba baje sa ane ye tena mamu Fourth Republic democracy ye sa ane ye no nyemra ne ye de ye ben this before ye ha momumrate no eye se on betumi afa bibia no mu na yante asempa sa eyi ko bae nti de efrem mo a na ye kan ne se NDC mpanifo from your papa Asiedu Nketia oko general secretary Fifi Kote na president His Excellency John Dramani Mahama omu negligence and akofa weyaba omu tacit support for the lawlessness that possess omu party no omu ntumi anka ho hwe yes is abene ebu ne say yes peni ofie na yes say na ewi na nka na e kan na nka wefo a omu so ka ho bi bajo nya sa oma ye hwe ha wo party nim o man nim His Excellency John Dramani Mahama wan ye ku ye toaba ene yi wo afedie sa violence ye free hin no montuma nka hwe na ada no omo members akwakogu esan say ye the violence na hye omo party ni mu women organizer ka kire omo say ye nya we nipa mo de mo take the law into mo nsem na mo nko bebia mo pebia na de mo pebia mo nko fan free ho sa na tie ene ya ntia sampa enti ye frɛ His Excellency John Dramani Mahama so mo take responsibility na omo take responsibility no so no ma nya omo say omo ni police for baka kwotena ho ne akeye kataso mu aso na bone e course e ku nipa sa nkrofo no omo ye NDC for there but omo onanfofo omo ye NPP for omo wo krofo a I say omo emfa party ho a omo so eni omo e wo twaka enti so omo wu a nya NDC for na ahwera de nyina Ghana for na ahwera ti mo ko e kataso mu aso bia emfa asemu yi nkoye foolish case na nipa na ewu no ye baako nipa 11 na ewu enti ye kase police for nya omadwuma kokurudo so emre bi atwemu no mo kasa bebre ate enne no omunye adwuma me enti ne yenhwe yenso ye ni die kire papa na mo make sure say bebia asem no beko no onwo adi bone no ye ma emra no ani omundi ni pepepe na ehon so ya frɛ ye papa John Dramani Mahama ya ka kire ne say se police for na beba ne ho aka so ye be moamo aso akata so a na ana se ono ne beko mo ho a onka ehunu say ye ni die kire ye mpese ye bete se otu anama obi e de akova obi ana se otu anama obi e de akle obi omoma police for no nye investigation no na result wo mu no onfambra na Ghana fo nyina ne yenhwe ne yemfa nsuade na omo adi bone no yenhwe omaso da mo nyina sesemo bai. I hope that there's no question. Just two questions, yes. Well, I'm saying I'm more able to only the NA2. Say ebema Ghana fo nyina te say ade e course no enye na ade no e course nyina no nkwa abram nyina ye di kan ka kire NDC fo say momu ene omo nkrofo no nya kasa kire but omo aye enti ye ni bedi e kire na investigation enmu anu di sem abeba no na asotwe wo mu no ye behwe se omo a edi bone no ye betwe o maso na aye mfato ho ama afoforo a ahwe a mba besua sa de bone we efiri omo ho no na omo gyae se be ya ade we ebi nsi bio nti anamo a betu no eno no ya se party ye bedi ekire pa ya make sure se ebra no ebe ye adwuma
NDC aban autism one way the police bring family to so Emma or massive say they can say and they are 2017 we see here and now any police reform any reform here katasuma so na yin so na yin ko ya wo ko down for free ko fa yi ko wa se wo ma wo ko te ma abo wo ko bu ko fa e bra wo and yeah be say this here anything ama musu e kasa na
Debbie there manoguso America ne say omo a akoye ama nipa ewu sa no sa for no police for investigation no ema twe sa for na so eno na ya asem adapo no so we dia wo kan ye no asem na ye focus on na asem so na ye fending come
2020, yes. This time around, yes, 2028. Let me be real simply. But yes, how should we end this mess? Because honestly, the way it's going, whenever the government changes over, people feel that we are in power. In 2016 happened, and into 2017 happened. How should we stop this? Because I don't know the day, we have blame game, no, not a shift back, not go for that,
yeah, ejina hai mati dia okana se ejina enye blame game ne ye no kura de ka se nipa ewu police for nso say ye investigation omumfa emunsembra ene ya ka kire papa John Dramani Mahama se mon ko ekata so mu aso so bese sa di etutwa on make sure say on e di bone sa asem yi mu no ye be twa maso na asem we etutwa bin sibio Ghana ha ti eni abre pa say be make sure say justice will be served in this matter. Now, omo a edi bone no ye be twa maso pepepe.
Yes, sir. Are you missing
the party made a mistake by insisting the anti-vigilante law was passed? Because your party members, some of them, when you speak to them, they feel that you are restraining them so much and they would want to react to what the NDC is doing.
Yeah, there Abraham come sure some Marty, but the opposite carry they say ana NPP you see or member a party ni mu and omo de omo phone na NDC for to ashen crofo so ayebro mu emra na ye di adwuma NPP ati ase say emra tia say party board vigilante ne di aka no but the NDC for emfa mra nya adwuma eno ne yehu enti no mu nyina Ghana for masomu amanimu na asem we nyina si enti muma ai mani nko ho monka bi media for monka bi asem no enkoyi a monka bi na say o ha mo mehu mo meyi mo logos mehu motimu studio morning show na asem na madane asem nani but say yes na be ya asem a ye nyina na etimu Ghana ha enti muma ye nyina nka nokure ye fa nokure nya adwuma na Ghana sumdue nkoso ntraw because election ya December 7 before I be call no bia aye tense say ye ntia sempa but e ba ye de ne ba call na sumdue so senkanye NDC for na ye ma omo members etusha man for so terrorization yoma because election way will be one of the most peaceful elections in the history of this Fourth Republic enti besre say media for no yesre mo bodwuma ne say enkoyi a mo beka but na say mu de akwakọ ye say enkoyi a mo mpese mo beka de enti aba ne sa no ye enti ase ye ne mo be adwuma they are making sure say ye di ye betu ye they are making sure say the political class is held accountable say ye nsusu a hold us accountable say NDC for mo hold them accountable but mo media ni bi me share logos no na say die ababa ye gospel or ye bone kura mo nkan ma hwemu na ma preaching foforo yesre so mo making sure say ye de no kure ebe ye adwuma na Ghana akonanim timi da say am say question ni na what dem ba oni a kasa anabi mpacho hwe ni ye efia ye ona anabi wa hanti no oka okay
Musa said, election, NPP party, city candidates, edgy winter. Won't you say, and until a man, NPP for NDC for react here now? Because so a lot of police centers, a lot of police centers. Now,
please.
NPP phobia. I didn't answer.
Well, Mpacho, yenye kom kakra. The tenant say, "I did all the ane de mawa, unko hubio." Esa nete. I did all the. Say, "See, I'm from one obekum." I say, "What the idea mau?" Yes, I support to ama what transition about be do sa fully. Into kwa ukui. I say, "Anything." Janse bi enim, sebi. Janse bi enim. Jina so bi enim. I say, "This is for kukukusa." MPP nke yenye sa. Enti ye baba Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia concession oye no. Papa say be boa ma democracy. All kan okra no kan say tension na e wo wiase nyina ye nyina ye ko election mu na manfo osuro no. Oh yes, a concession no. E manoma ba fo mprekope. Ma manfo hu no say Ghana ya gi democracy ato. Na ka say NDC fo so dey side democracy kura be edwuma no manfa nye. Enti ni nyina e de yemfa so NDC fo. Yemfa so ai papa John Dramani Mahama. Any papa say don't get here ne but who say all your moves be the all you say you who but ni nyina no boni omadi I say leadership as so mu show man show no and no na kofa we mu nyina aba amo akire say omonye democrat omo akire say aba ye 2 years odwe so de tumi ma omo no omani anso na omo nya ya anka komo de patapa na nka ba beje o man no but Ghana for e ma eni na ho na NDC for de omonye nkrofo a say ejaja omo say making sure say be so jagu omo chem ntira be stress mu media no mu mwa yen enkoye say MPP for ne yeka mu nyina me nka because Ghana no nyina ye de na e be gina hai NDC for asem ne yeka o NDC for na akoko lusu omo nkwa ne yeka ho asem ade ne MPP ye na because etia oyonko ho a etuaduam aye ohawa abeto omo so no ade say Ghana ni ana Ghana for na ewu no ye fa ne say yankasa ye nkrofo and ewu no kasafo no be enche bia no be start abadwane MPP because the party no mo no was when we send kotoko SCC na say mu be 2 days ago bole president Nangasa Krum ya shishi nyoma shishi ja ya won say ono Nangasa ne family house kura ahwa on betu ahye ho what they say nkrofo yin democrat NDC for yin democrat mo ya patapafo yen nananom at the beginning of this fourth republic and the stress from international pressure by ya no mojitu mo say be democracy what it to mokasa omo no nya ya nka patapa no nkwa no betra Ghana okay me dey try to help papa John Dramani Mahama say omo no ya de patapa ne twa mo fruma anya sa no kai enti we wi ni aba asomdwe mu so sa de patapa ene de aba ti yesre say media mama maso mani ene maso di asem ye chi they make sure say ye nnuan mo mawi ya ye ombenya justice da mo nyina ase one a question
is it about post election and I say post election violence and I say obi na ewu e ma you no eye the omo ya Obuasi police station I need that clarity because you can say
na say onia so na we journalist no be sekisa clarity of me wona say go check na wo want me say wona we journalist and na onye journalist to bo jai say o ask a question me be say we journalist oti grasa me say oti say BBC sa there na see come at me there na see